pursuing his or her career and pursuing the profession. The logic is very simple. Rob is not paying attention. Thank you. The logic is very simple. Ladies and gentlemen, we all live in India, and there's a problem. The problem is, I don't know where to start. There are so many problems. If you sum it up, the root of all problems lies at the door of political governance. Some of you will agree, many of you will agree, some of you may not. But I urge you to take my word for it, because this has been researched, and we've got the legislature, we've got the executive, and we've got the judiciary, and we've got the fourth state. If you were to break up the problems and walk towards their origins, most of them end up at the door of political governance. You will agree that if professionals, or let us, professional is a word I'm using, all right? I mean, don't read meaning in it. Professional means anybody who means well, who's qualified, enlightened, aware, conscious, patriotic, wants to do good, socially oriented. So if these people, if professionals got involved and sat in parliament, in our parliament, top down, if they can bring about change top down. So that's the theory, all right? So I won't dwell on the theory. I'll come to the point that has been given to me, the subject which I'm going to be speaking on. How many of you know what the subject is? What am I going to speak on? Do any of you know? No?
We've read about it. We don't know about it.
You've read about it, all right? That's a good start. I'm going to speak for the next 10 minutes on corporate political responsibility should precede corporate social responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, corporate political responsibility should precede corporate social responsibility. What is corporate social responsibility? Or for that matter, any social responsibility? To do good in your own personal capacity is social responsibility. To do good with the strength of a company is corporate social responsibility. But at the end of the day, it is social responsibility. While we are all expected to be socially responsible, the greatest responsibility rests with the government. And that's the theory of taxation. While it does not have to be either or, it can be together, everybody can do good. But let's remember that the basic responsibility rests at the door of the government. Now if you put these two things together, if the basic responsibility rests at the door of the government, and we have lots of problems and all of them end up at the door of poor governance, then that is where the problem is. Governance loosely translates into political governance. Political governance loosely translates into politics. Unless the politics of the country changes, we will all be band-aiding problems. India has perhaps the largest number of NGOs. All of them are doing good, earning punyas, wonderful. But half these problems would not have been there if the governance was what it was expected to be. Half the NGOs would not have been there if the governance or the government was doing what it is intended to do, what it is expected to do, I beg your pardon. If that is so, then corporate social responsibility is also getting into the fray. You know what we are doing? We have a body. If there's a pimple, I can put a band-aid. If my body is full of pimples, you need blood transfusion. If you've got so many problems, then every problem is systemic. And ladies and gentlemen, systemic problems cannot be treated by social responsibility. You need systemic change. Systemic change in a democracy can be only political. I'll give you an example. We are all creatures of environment. I'm going to get myself some water, just a second. Forgive me, ladies, there's no glass here. Glad my wife is not here. We are all creatures of environment. If I ask you to spit here, will you spit? You won't. If I ask you to spit on the road, you will. That's the impact environment has on us. When you go to a quiet place, we all talk in hushed tones. When we go to a noisy place, we scream. The governance, the atmosphere in the country, which is essentially a factor of the quality of governance, is going poorer and poorer. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my very dear friends, I think it is the responsibility of every person in the country, particularly the corporates, to work towards changing the political environment. And you will find that half the social problems will vanish. And those who are responsible for running NGOs are doing a magnificent job. But they have a model that cannot be scaled up. NGOs cannot be scaled up. NGOs are doing a lot of good, local good. You need a model which can be scaled up. I urge all of you to please go around the country and actually get a magnitude of the problem. We are cocooned in these urban centers, and many of us are not quite conscious of the magnitude of the problem facing our country. The size, the magnitude of poverty, the magnitude of corruption, the magnitude of illiteracy, the magnitude of unemployment. It's mind-boggling. And ladies and gentlemen, I think the corporates should be looking at helping create a new political environment. If the political environment, which determines everybody's actions, changes for the better, social consciousness and social responsibility will not only become part of everyday life, but the government itself will become more conscious towards delivering social responsibility. How do you achieve it? How can corporates get more politically responsible? I'm tempted to say, like Anu said, 1% goes to CSR, it should go to CPR. But I'm not going to say it. I think what corporates should do is get politically conscious. Today, how many of you know that corporates actually discourage political debate in their companies? Corporates actually discourage executives from having political opinions. They surely discourage and seriously look down upon political involvement. You know why this has happened? This has happened because over the years, the middle class, once again nebulous, not clearly defined, but people like you and I, have distanced themselves from politics because of various reasons. Because we were studying and pursuing our careers and becoming a professional, running companies, working for companies, blah, 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 whatever. But the consequence of that distancing is that people who involved themselves in politics have steadily degenerated. And today you've got, I don't have to describe the political makeup of the nation. As a result, today politics is viewed as dirty. If you tell your spouse or your brother, sister, your parents, I'm going to get into politics, they straight away get concerned and they're worried for your safety. The fact that it is so itself is an indicator of how bad things have gone. And I think all of us must put our shoulders to the wheel to ensure that political consciousness is awakened. We must all become politically conscious. The middle class, ladies and gentlemen, is till now an insulated body of people. By and large insulated from the political goings on, by and large. I want all of you to get involved, and I want the corporates to put their shoulder to the wheel and create this consciousness, political consciousness. Political consciousness creates the environment in which society operates. If this political environment